Boston in November was unforgiving, the kind of cold that seeped through expensive coats and threadbare ones alike, making no distinction between wealth and poverty. On this particular afternoon, as gray clouds gathered over Boston Common and the temperature dropped to 30 degrees, two worlds were about to collide on a park bench near the frozen fountain. James Morrison knew cold. Not this cold, the kind that bit at exposed skin and turned breath to vapor, but the cold of loss, of grief that settled in the chest and refused to leave. At 35, he had built Morrison Systems from a college dorm room idea into a company valued at $180 million. He lived in a Beacon Hill townhouse worth $4.2 million. He drove a Tesla Model S. He donated generously to causes he believed in. He considered himself, on his better days, a decent man. But walking through the park on this bitter afternoon with his 6-year-old daughter's hand in his, James understood that decency was often just comfort's way of looking away. His daughter's name was Zoe. Her mother, Jasmine, had chosen it. Life, the name meant. Jasmine had died 3 years ago from an aneurysm so sudden that James still sometimes reached for her in bed, still turned to share a joke she would never hear, still felt the phantom weight of her absence in every room of their home. Zoe clutched a new book against her chest, a collection of illustrated poetry they had just purchased from Trident booksellers. She wore a pink North Face jacket that cost more than some families spent on groceries in a month, though James tried not to think about such comparisons. Tried and failed, especially on days like this. "Daddy, can we get hot chocolate?" Her voice was bright, innocent, untouched by the cynicism that would come later if he failed to protect her from it. James looked down at his daughter, at the hope in her brown eyes, and felt the familiar ache of wanting to give her everything while knowing that everything would never be enough to fill the mother-shaped hole in her life. "Of course, sweetheart." "With marshmallows?" "Extra marshmallows. Mama used to say marshmallows make everything better." James's breath caught. Zoe spoke of Jasmine less and less these days, and each mention was a gift and a wound simultaneously. He squeezed her hand gently. "She did say that. Let's get you the biggest hot chocolate in Boston." They walked toward the cafe, their bodyguard trailing discreetly 30 feet behind. Mr. Park was good at his job, which meant being nearly invisible until needed. James had hired security after the second threatening letter from a competitor, after the incident at Zoe's school when a reporter had tried to photograph her without permission. Being a wealthy black man in America came with complications. Being a wealthy black single father added layers. That was when James saw her. At first, she was just a shape on a bench, a huddled mass of fabric and humanity that most people's eyes would slide past, trained as they were to look away from discomfort, from poverty, from the visible evidence that the system failed people every single day. But Zoe's eyes had not yet learned that particular blindness. "Daddy?" Zoe's voice was small, concerned. "Why is that lady sleeping outside? It's so cold." James stopped walking. The woman on the bench was curled into herself, shivering despite multiple layers of worn clothing. Blonde hair, matted and dirty, obscured most of her face. She clutched a plastic bag to her chest like it contained everything in the world that mattered. Perhaps it did. James felt something in his chest tighten. He had written checks to homeless charities. He had volunteered at shelters on Thanksgiving, ladling soup with Zoe beside him, teaching her about service and compassion. But confronting homelessness directly, with his daughter watching, required a different kind of action. Required him to be the man Jasmine had believed he was, not just the man who could afford to believe in his own goodness from a distance. "She might not have a home, sweetheart." "Why not? Everyone should have homes." The simple morality of children. The uncomplicated belief that the world should be fair, that needs should be met, that no one should suffer when others had plenty. James wished he could preserve that belief forever, even as he knew the world would eventually teach her otherwise. "You're absolutely right," he gestured to Mr. Park. "Stay here with Zoe." James approached slowly, carefully, the way one might approach a wounded animal. He had no idea what he was doing. No protocol for this beyond basic human decency, which felt inadequate in the face of such visible suffering. "Ma'am, excuse me, are you all right?" The woman stirred, looked up with startling blue eyes wide with fear and defensive instinct. She was young, maybe late 20s, and even beneath dirt and exhaustion, there was something striking about her features. something that spoke of a different life before this one, before the bench and the cold and the plastic bag of belongings. I'm not causing trouble. Her voice was hoarse. I'll move. No, please. James held up his hands, palms out, universal sign of peace. I'm James Morrison. That's my daughter, Zoe. We're concerned about you. This cold is dangerous. The woman stared at him, processing. Her eyes moved from his face to his coat, expensive cashmere, then to Zoe, who waved tentatively. Something in her expression cracked, just slightly. I don't need charity. When did you last eat? The question hung between them. The woman's stomach answered with an audible growl that would have been funny in any other context. Her face flushed with shame. I don't know, yesterday maybe. Please, I don't want to be anyone's project. James understood pride, had felt it himself when his father worked 3 jobs to keep food on the table, when James had been the scholarship kid at MIT, surrounded by trust fund children, when he had started his company with $5,000 saved from night shifts at the computer lab. Pride was what kept you standing when everything else wanted to push you down. But pride could also kill you on a night when the temperature dropped below freezing. There's a cafe nearby. Let me buy you something warm to eat. No strings attached. Why? It was a fair question. James thought about how to answer. Because my daughter is watching and I want to teach her that compassion is more than a concept. Because my wife would have stopped without hesitation. Because I have so much and you have so little and that imbalance feels obscene. Because it's the right thing to do. The woman looked at him for a long moment, then at Zoe, who had pulled away from Mr. Park and was walking over despite instructions to stay put. Hi. Zoe's voice was friendly, open, trusting in the way that terrified James every single day. I'm Zoe. I'm 6 3/4. What's your name? The woman's eyes filled with tears. She blinked them back furiously. Brianna. Most people call me Bri. That's pretty. Are you hungry? We were going to get hot chocolate. You should come. James watched as something shifted in the woman's face, as pride warred with necessity and lost. She nodded, just barely. Just food, then I go. Just food, James agreed, knowing he was lying, knowing the moment Zoe had spoken, he had already committed to more than a meal. The thinking cup was warm, almost oppressively so after the November cold. The air smelled of espresso and cinnamon, of comfort and normalcy that felt surreal given the circumstances. James guided Brianna to a corner booth while other patrons stared. He was used to being stared at, black man with money, but this was different. This was judgment, not curiosity. Several people wrinkled their noses at Brianna's appearance, her smell. James felt anger rise in his throat, hot and familiar. He swallowed it. Brianna's hands shook as she held the menu. She couldn't seem to make eye contact with anyone, especially not James. Zoe, bless her complete lack of social awareness, slid into the booth directly next to her. Do you like grilled cheese? That's what I always get. And tomato soup for dipping. James started to redirect his daughter to give this woman space, but Brianna spoke first. That sounds perfect. Her voice was soft but educated. James noticed the way she spoke, the articulation that suggested college, a different life. He noticed everything, filing details away. The small scar on her right hand, the chapped, work-roughened fingers, the way she hunched her shoulders as if trying to take up less space in the world. When the food came, Brianna ate slowly at first, forcing herself to maintain some dignity. But hunger won out. She devoured the sandwich and soup while Zoe chattered about her day, about the book they had bought, about the upcoming school play where she would be a tree. A speaking tree, Zoe clarified importantly, with 3 lines. That's wonderful, Brianna said, and there was genuine warmth in her voice, a glimpse of who she had been before circumstances stripped everything away. James ordered more food without asking. Chicken sandwich, side salad, apple pie. Brianna's eyes widened, but she didn't protest. Pride had its limits when starvation was the alternative. When did you last sleep in a bed? James asked when Zoe was distracted by her hot chocolate, fishing out marshmallows with a spoon. Brianna's face crumpled. She fought for control, won, but barely. 3 weeks, since I was evicted. I've been trying shelters, but they're full most nights. I'm on waiting lists, but... She wiped her eyes roughly. I'm sorry, you've been very kind. I should go. Where will you go? The question was simple but devastating. Brianna had no answer because there was no good answer. Back to the bench, back to the cold, back to hoping she survived another night. James made a decision that would change 3 lives forever. He had no way of knowing this in the moment, no prophecy or divine intervention. Just a daughter's earlier question echoing in his mind. Why is that lady sleeping outside? And his own response. Everyone should have homes. Come home with us. Brianna's head snapped up. What? Just for tonight. Hot shower, real meal, warm bed. Tomorrow we can figure out resources, shelters with openings, whatever you need, but tonight let me help. You don't know me. I could be dangerous. James almost smiled. This woman who weighed perhaps 120 pounds soaking wet, who could barely hold a spoon without shaking, worried she might be a threat. Are you dangerous? No, I was a graphic designer. I had a life, a career, then medical bills from my mom's cancer, then layoffs, then missed rent. Everything collapsed so fast. Her voice broke. But I'm not looking for a handout. I'm not some charity case. You're a person in crisis, James said. I'm a person with resources. My daughter has been asking me about how we help people who need it. This is me showing her that caring means action, not just words. Zoe, who had been listening despite pretending not to, chimed in. Please come, Miss Bree. We have a big house, and Mrs. Kim makes really good pancakes. Brianna looked at this child, this innocent, privileged child who had probably never missed a meal in her life, who slept in a bed with clean sheets every night, who had no concept of the desperation that drove people to sleep on frozen benches. But there was no judgment in Zoe's eyes, just kindness. One night, Brianna whispered. One night, James agreed, and both of them knew they were lying. The Morrison townhouse occupied a prime spot on Beacon Hill, red brick and black shutters, the kind of property that appeared in magazines about Boston architecture. 4 stories, 8 rooms, a small garden in back that Jasmine had tended before she died. James kept it maintained now, hiring a service, but it lacked her touch. Everything lacked her touch. Brianna stood on the sidewalk, staring up at the house like it was a palace. In a sense, it was. $4 million of real estate in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in America. James saw it through her eyes and felt momentarily embarrassed by his wealth, then frustrated at himself for that embarrassment. He had earned this, built his company through intelligence and hard work, and 16-hour days and risks that could have bankrupted him. He was allowed to enjoy the fruits of his labor, but standing next to a woman who had nothing, the fruits felt less sweet. Come on, he said gently. It's warmer inside. The interior was exactly what one would expect, and also not. Yes, there was expensive furniture, art on the walls, high ceilings with crown molding. But there were also Zoe's drawings on the refrigerator, toys scattered across the living room floor, a blanket fort that James hadn't had the heart to dismantle in 3 days. It was a home, not a showpiece. Jasmine had insisted on that. No museum, she had said. We live here, we make messes. We're human. Mrs. Kim appeared from the kitchen, a Korean woman in her 60s who had worked for the family since Zoe was born. Her eyes took in Brianna with one sharp glance, assessing, cataloging, reaching conclusions James couldn't read. Mrs. Kim, this is Brianna Hayes. She'll be staying in the blue guest room tonight. Of course, Mr. Morrison. Mrs. Kim's voice was professional, giving nothing away. Miss Hayes, would you like to freshen up? I'll prepare the room and find you some comfortable clothes. Brianna's eyes filled with tears again. She seemed perpetually on the edge of crying, which James supposed made sense when kindness became unexpected instead of normal. Thank you, thank you. Mrs. Kim led her upstairs. James heard the bathroom door close, then the shower start. He imagined what that must feel like. Hot water after weeks of cold, cleanliness after dirt had become a second skin, privacy after public vulnerability. He imagined and felt grateful for things he had always taken for granted. Daddy, Zoe tugged his hand, is Miss Bree going to be okay? I think so, sweetheart. We're going to help her. Good, I like her. She's sad but trying not to be. Like you after Mommy died. Children saw too much, understood too much. James knelt down to Zoe's eye level. You're very perceptive. That's a big word. It means you notice things about people. Mrs. Kim taught me that word. She says I'm perceptive like mommy was. James pulled his daughter close, breathing in the smell of her shampoo, feeling the solid reality of her small body, the weight of his responsibility to raise her well, to teach her compassion without naivety, generosity without foolishness, love without fear. Mommy would be proud of you today. She would be proud of you too, Daddy. Upstairs, the shower ran for 27 minutes. James counted without meaning to, working in his home office while Zoe did homework at the kitchen table under Mrs. Kim's supervision. When Brianna finally emerged, she looked different. Clean, obviously, but also younger somehow. The dirt and exhaustion had masked how young she actually was. Late 20s, James guessed. Barely older than Jasmine had been when they met. She wore pajamas Mrs. Kim had provided, soft flannel that belonged to James's sister Nicole from her last visit. Her wet hair was combed back, her face scrubbed clean. She moved tentatively, like someone afraid the floor might disappear beneath her feet. Dinner's ready, Mrs. Kim announced. Spaghetti, Zoe's favorite. They sat at the kitchen table, not the formal dining room. James had stopped using that room after Jasmine died. Too many chairs, too many memories. The kitchen felt safer, smaller, more manageable. Brianna ate carefully, maintaining some dignity even as hunger drove her. Zoe filled the silence with constant chatter about school, about her best friend Maya who had moved to California, about the cat she wanted but Daddy said she wasn't ready for. Miss Bree, do you like drawing? Daddy says you're a graphic designer. I love drawing. What do you draw? Princesses mostly, and sometimes dragons, and sometimes princess dragons. Those sound amazing. I'd love to see them sometime. Zoe beamed. She ran to get her sketchbook, leaving James and Brianna alone for the first time since the cafe. You didn't have to do this, Brianna said quietly. I know. Why did you? James considered the question. Considered lying, offering some easy answer about charity or teaching Zoe values. But Jasmine had hated lies, even kind ones. Because 3 years ago, I almost became you. Brianna looked up, startled. After my wife died, I fell apart. Depression, neglecting my business, barely functioning. My father forced me to accept help. Literally showed up, moved into the guest room, took over. He said pride was expensive and stupid, that someone had helped him once when he needed it, and now he was helping me, and someday I would help someone else. This is someday. You're someone else. I'm white. You're black. People will have opinions. People always have opinions about black men, regardless of what we do. Build a successful company must be affirmative action. Marry a black woman from an established family must be for her connections. Help a white woman in need must be some savior, complex or worse. James's voice was calm but firm. I stopped living according to other people's opinions years ago. The question isn't what strangers think. The question is, what's right? Brianna studied him for a long moment. How long can I stay? As long as you need. That's not specific. How about this? 1 month. You work on getting back on your feet. I'll help with what I can. Job searching, resume work, whatever. After a month, we reassess. I can't pay rent. I'm not asking you to. I need to contribute something. James understood this. The need to not be completely dependent, completely helpless. Pride again, that double-edged sword. Can you cook? Yes. Great, you and Mrs. Kim can coordinate. She's been complaining about doing all the cooking herself since Jasmine died. I'm useless in the kitchen, and Zoe thinks cereal counts as a meal. It was a small thing, a tiny contribution that wouldn't really offset the value of room and board in a $1 million-plus home. But James saw Brianna's shoulders relax slightly, saw some of the tension leave her face. Everyone needed to feel useful. Everyone needed dignity. Zoe returned with her sketchbook, and the next hour passed in easy conversation about art and school and nothing important. Miss Kim cleaned the kitchen, then excused herself for the evening. At 8:30, James took Zoe upstairs for her bedtime routine. Bath, pajamas, teeth brushing, story time. Can Miss Bree stay longer than one night? Zoe asked as James tucked her in. Maybe. We'll see. I hope so. She seems lonely, like she needs a family. We're not her family, sweetheart. We could be, if we wanted. James kissed his daughter's forehead, marveling at the simplicity of her worldview. Family was something you chose, something you built. Blood mattered less than kindness. Sleep well, Zoe Bear. Love you, Daddy Bear. Their nightly exchange, sacred and silly and necessary. James turned off the light and went back downstairs to find Brianna still at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of tea Mrs. Kim had made before leaving. She's special, Brianna said. Your daughter. She is. Jasmine. Was that your wife's name? Yes. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for yours. Your mother. They sat in silence for a while, two people who had lost too much, who carried grief like extra weight. I ran a background check, James said finally. I hope that's not offensive. I have a daughter to protect. I understand. What did you find? Elena Marie Hayes. Wait, I thought you said Brianna? She smiled sadly. Brianna is my middle name. Elena Brianna. Everyone calls me Bri. Less formal. Elena, James tested the name. Liked it. 28 years old. Graphic design degree from Massachusetts College of Art. Worked at Brighton Design Studios until they downsized 6 months ago. No criminal record. Mother died of ovarian cancer last year. Medical debt of $47,000. Estranged from father. One sibling, younger brother. You're thorough. I'm careful. Everything you told me checks out. You sound relieved. I am. I want to help you, Elena, but I need to trust you around my daughter. I would never hurt her. I believe you. But I needed to verify. Elena stood, carried her mug to the sink, rinsed it carefully. Small actions that spoke of someone who cleaned up after herself, who didn't assume service. I should sleep. Tomorrow I'll start looking for real solutions. Shelters, subsidized housing, whatever. Or, James said carefully, you could stay here while you look. Take your time, do it right instead of taking the first available option out of desperation. Why are you being so kind to me? Because someone was kind to me once, and because my daughter asked why you were sleeping outside and I didn't have a good answer except that sometimes the world fails people. I can't fix the world, but I can offer you a room. Elena's eyes filled with tears for what must have been the 10th time that day. But these tears felt different. Less desperation, more hope. 1 month? 1 month minimum. After that, we'll see. She nodded, whispered another, thank you, and went upstairs to the blue guest room. James heard the door close softly. He sat alone in the kitchen of his $4 million home and wondered what exactly he had just committed to. In Zoe's room, his daughter slept peacefully, dreaming whatever 6-year-olds dream. In the guest room, Elena probably lay awake, unable to believe her luck, afraid to trust it. And in the bedroom James had once shared with Jasmine, he would eventually lie awake too, thinking about choices and consequences and the fine line between compassion and foolishness. But for now, in this quiet moment, it felt like the right thing to do. That was enough. Morning came too early. James woke at 5:30, his usual time, body trained by years of routine. He showered, dressed in his standard work uniform of dark jeans and button-down shirt. Morrison Systems had no dress code. James had built a company culture that valued innovation over appearance, results over protocol. He was making coffee when he heard small footsteps on the stairs. Zoe appeared in princess pajamas, hair everywhere, carrying her favorite stuffed bear. Is Miss Bree still here? She's asleep by his guest room. Good, I was afraid she left. Why would she leave? Because grown-ups leave sometimes. Mommy left. James's heart broke a little. He knelt down, pulled Zoe close. Mommy didn't choose to leave. She got sick. That's different. But she's gone, that's the same. 6-year-old logic, irrefutable in its simplicity. James had no good response, so he just held his daughter until she squirmed away, the moment passing as moments do. Mrs. Kim arrived at 7. She took over breakfast preparation, making pancakes while James packed Zoe's lunch and backpack. Their routine was well established, comfortable, the kind of domesticity that James had never expected to master, but had learned through necessity. At 7:15, Elena appeared in the kitchen doorway. She wore the same pajamas from last night, looking uncertain. "Good morning," James said. "Coffee?" "Please, if it's not too much trouble." "No trouble. How did you sleep?" "Better than I have in months. That bed is incredibly comfortable." Zoe bounced over. "Miss Bree, you're here. Do you want pancakes? Mrs. Kim makes the best pancakes." "I'd love some, thank you." They ate breakfast together, a strange little unit. Mrs. Kim, who had helped raise Zoe, James, trying to balance work and fatherhood, Zoe herself, 6 years old and certain the world was good, and Elena, still looking like she might disappear if anyone moved too suddenly. After breakfast, James drove Zoe to school. Private academy in Back Bay, $30,000 a year for kindergarten, which seemed obscene until James remembered the quality of education, the small class size, the attention his daughter received. He could afford it. Why shouldn't she benefit? When he returned home, Elena was washing dishes despite Mrs. Kim's protests. "You're a guest," Mrs. Kim was saying. "I need to help, please. I can't just sit around." James intervened. "Elena, do you have a portfolio? Work samples?" "Everything's digital. I can access it from any computer if you have internet." "I have a home office. Come on." He led her upstairs to his study. Computer, printer, comfortable chair, window overlooking the small garden. Elena sat at the desk like she was afraid to touch anything. "Morrison Systems needs a rebrand," James said. "Our current design team is external, expensive, and not delivering what we need. If you're interested, I'd like to see your work." Elena's eyes widened. "You're offering me a job?" "I'm offering you a chance to show me what you can do. If your work is good, then yes, I'm offering a job. I don't have recent samples. I've been surviving, not creating." "Show me old work then. I want to see your range, your style, your technical ability." For the first time since James had met her, Elena smiled. Really smiled, not the tentative grimace of someone afraid to take up space. She logged into her cloud storage and pulled up her portfolio. James was impressed. Her work was clean, modern, sophisticated. She understood branding, visual hierarchy, color theory. She had designed logos for local businesses, marketing materials for nonprofits, website mock-ups that actually looked functional. "This is good," he said. "Really good. Why did Brighton let you go?" "Last in, first out. I'd only been there 10 months when they downsized." "Their loss. Listen, I'm serious about the job offer. Contract position, $6,000 a month for 3 months. If it works out, we can discuss permanent employment." $6,000? Elena's voice was faint. "That's below market rate for Boston, but I'm taking a risk on someone without recent experience. If you prove yourself, we renegotiate." "I'll prove myself." "I believe you. Can you start today?" Elena looked down at her borrowed pajamas, laughed a little desperately. "I don't exactly have work clothes. Mrs. Kim can take you shopping. Get what you need. Consider it an advance on your first paycheck." "I can't accept more charity." "It's not charity, it's a business expense. My employees represent Morrison Systems. I need you to look professional." It was a lie. James didn't care what people wore, but he understood that Elena needed this framed as business, not pity. Pride again? Always pride. Mrs. Kim took Elena to Target, not Nordstrom. Elena had insisted, and Mrs. Kim had agreed. They returned with 3 outfits, sensible and inexpensive. Elena looked more herself in jeans and a simple blouse, less like a charity case and more like someone who belonged. She worked in the home office that first day, while James handled calls from his bedroom turned second office. By evening, she had created 3 logo concepts for Morrison Systems, each one better than what his current team had produced in 2 months. "These are excellent," James said, reviewing her work. "Really?" "Really. Elena, you have serious talent. Why did you end up on the streets?" She flinched at the blunt question, then answered, "Pride, mostly. I didn't ask for help when I should have. Kept thinking I could fix it myself. By the time I realized I couldn't, I'd burned through my savings, maxed out credit cards, lost my apartment. My brother," she paused, "my brother has addiction issues. I spent thousands trying to help him. Rehab, sober living, medical bills. It didn't work. He's still using." And I'm here. Where's your father? Gone, left when I was 8. Haven't seen him since. Other family? Just Tyler, my brother. James understood family complications. Understood the weight of responsibility for siblings, for parents, for people you loved who made terrible choices. Well, you have a job now and a place to stay. Things are looking up. Elena smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. For now, until I mess it up somehow. Why do you assume you'll mess it up? Because that's what I do. Everything good in my life, I eventually destroy. James recognized depression when he heard it. Recognized the voice of trauma and loss and too many failures. He had heard that voice in his own head after Jasmine died. Or, he said gently, things that fell apart weren't your fault, and you're blaming yourself for circumstances beyond your control. Maybe. She didn't sound convinced. That was okay. Healing took time. James knew that better than anyone. That night at dinner, Zoe chatted about school while Elena listened attentively, asking questions, genuinely interested. After Zoe went to bed, Elena retreated to the guest room. James heard her crying through the door. He didn't knock. Some grief needed privacy. The week continued. Elena worked, proved herself over and over. Mrs. Kim warmed to her gradually. Zoe adored her immediately. James watched this woman slowly become less a charity case and more a person, saw confidence return in small increments, saw her laugh occasionally, saw her eat without guilt. On Thursday night, Zoe had a nightmare. She screamed for mommy, that particular scream that broke James's heart every time. He was in his office finishing a proposal. By the time he reached Zoe's room, Elena was already there, sitting on the bed, holding his daughter, reading from the poetry book in a soft voice. James stood in the doorway watching. Elena's hair fell forward, hiding her face. Zoe clutched her stuffed bear and listened to words about sidewalks and gardens and dreams. Slowly, Zoe's breathing evened out. Sleep took her. Elena looked up, saw James watching. I'm sorry. I heard her crying and thank you. She called for her mother. She does that sometimes. The dreams are getting less frequent, but they still happen. Elena gently extracted herself from Zoe's grip, tucked the bear next to her, adjusted the blanket. She moved like someone who knew children, who understood their needs. You're good with her, James said as they walked downstairs. I practically raised my brother. I know kids. They sat in the living room, lights off except for the street lamp glow through windows. Outside, Boston continued its relentless urban rhythm. Inside, something shifted between them. Not romance, not yet, but connection. Recognition of shared pain, shared loss, shared determination to keep moving forward. Thank you for this week, Elena said. For the volume, the room, everything. You've earned it. Your work is exceptional. I'm still leaving after the month. Wait, because I can't stay here forever. It's not fair to you or Zoe. And people will talk. Let them talk. Easy for you to say. You're established, successful. I'm the white woman living in a wealthy black man's house. People will assume things. What things? Elena's face flushed. You know what things? James did know. The assumptions, the judgment, the ugly implication that any relationship between them must be transactional, must involve exploitation in one direction or another. Society had its narratives, and interracial poverty dynamics fit neatly into several of them, none flattering. I don't care what people assume. Well, I do. I won't be the reason you or Zoe face scrutiny. That's not your choice to make. It's exactly my choice to make. This is your house, your life. I'm just passing through. James wanted to argue, but didn't. 1 week was too soon for certain conversations. Give it time. Let trust build. Let her see that his offer came without strings, without expectations beyond decent human behavior. Okay, he said, but the job stands regardless of where you live. You're talented. I'd be stupid not to employ you. Thank you. She went to bed. James stayed downstairs, thinking about choices and consequences, and how quickly life could change. 1 week ago, Elena had been sleeping on a bench. Now she was upstairs in his guest room, employed by his company, eating at his table. 1 week, 7 days, nothing and everything. Tyler called on Monday of week 3. James was at the office, Zoe at school, Elena working from the home office. When James returned that evening, Elena's eyes were red from crying. What happened? My brother called. He's out of rehab. Says he's clean. That's good news, isn't it? He wants money, says it's for job interview clothes, first month's rent. But I know him, it's for drugs. Did you give it to him? No, I don't have it to give. Even with the salary, I'm catching up on debt. And I wouldn't give it to him anyway. I've been down that road. James sat next to her at the kitchen table. This isn't your fault. He's my brother. He's my responsibility. He's an adult. His choices are his responsibility. You don't understand. After Dad left, after Mom got sick, I was all Tyler had. I raised him, fed him, helped with homework. If he's broken now, it's because I failed him. Or he's broken because addiction is a disease and you're not a doctor. Elena shook her head. I should have done more. You can't save people who don't want to be saved. Watch me. James recognized that tone. Determination born from guilt, from love, from the mistaken belief that caring hard enough could fix anything. He had felt that way about Jasmine, convinced that if he just found the right doctor, the right treatment, the right prayer, she would live. She hadn't. Some things were beyond control. If you want to help him, there are good rehab programs. I can help with costs. No, Elena's voice was sharp. No, I won't take more money from you. This is my family, my problem. I'm offering help, not judgment. I know, and I appreciate it, but Tyler is something I need to handle myself. James respected that, respected the boundary she was drawing, even as he wanted to ignore it, to throw money at the problem until it disappeared. But money solved some problems and complicated others. This felt like the latter. Tyler showed up on Thursday. James was home, working in his study, when the doorbell rang with aggressive insistence. He opened it to find a young white man, thin to the point of gauntness, with Elena's eyes but none of her warmth. Is Bri here? Elena is working. And you are? Tyler, her brother. Who are you? James Morrison. This is my house. Tyler's eyes narrowed, took in James's clothing, the visible wealth of the entryway behind him, the obvious disparity between them. Right, the rich guy. She's told me about you. Elena's mentioned you as well. She said you just finished rehab. Congratulations. Yeah, thanks. Look, I need to see my sister. She's not available right now. That's bullshit. Bree! Tyler pushed past James into the house. Bree, get out here. Elena appeared at the top of the stairs. Her face went white. Tyler, what are you doing here? I needed to see you. You won't return my calls. I returned them. I told you I couldn't help right now. Can't or won't. Both. Tyler looked around the house with undisguised envy and anger. But you can live here for free. You can eat his food and wear his clothes and take his charity. But your own brother? Family? Nothing. Tyler, you're high right now. I'm not. Your pupils are dilated. You're sweating. You can't stand still. You're using. Tyler's face crumpled, then hardened. I just need $500. That's nothing to you now. Look at this place. He's got millions and you can't spare $500 for your only family? James stepped forward. Elena has made her decision. You need to leave. Who the hell are you to tell me anything? You're nobody. I'm the homeowner asking you to leave. Oh, I see. Big black man, rich house, white girl living here? How's that work exactly? What does she do to earn her keep? The implication was clear and vile. James felt anger spike, hot and immediate. But before he could respond, Elena was down the stairs, standing between them. Get out, Tyler. Bree, come on, I'm your brother. You're an addict who won't get help. I love you, but I can't enable you anymore. I'll pay for treatment. 90 days, residential, whatever you need, but no cash. Treatment doesn't work. It does if you commit to it. I don't need treatment. I need support. I need my family to believe in me. I do believe in you. I believe you can get clean, but not like this. Not with money that will just feed your addiction. Tyler's face twisted. You've changed. You used to care about me. I still care. That's why I'm saying no. Bitch, Tyler spat the word, turned toward the door, stopped. You'll regret this. When I'm dead from an overdose, You'll regret not helping. He left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Elena stood frozen, trembling. James wanted to comfort her, but didn't know if touch would be welcome. She made the decision for him, collapsing against his chest, sobbing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He shouldn't have come here. He shouldn't have said those things. He's hurting. Addicts say terrible things when they're hurting. He's right, though. If he dies, it'll be my fault. No, it will be addiction's fault, and his fault for not accepting help. But not yours. She cried harder. James held her, this broken woman he barely knew, and felt the weight of her pain as if it were his own. Shared suffering, shared loss, shared determination to survive despite everything. Eventually, Elena pulled away. I should move out. I'm bringing my problems into your home, around Zoe. Zoe's at school. She didn't see any of this. But next time, we'll handle next time if it happens. Elena, you're not responsible for other people's bad behavior. Not Tyler's, not anyone's. I feel responsible. I know, but feelings aren't facts. She wiped her eyes, tried to smile. Failed. I should get back to work. Take the rest of the day. Rest. Process. Work is better. Work makes sense. James understood that too. After Jasmine died, he had thrown himself into Morrison Systems, working 18-hour days, building and building and building because building was easier than feeling. Work made sense. Grief didn't. That evening, after Zoe was asleep, Elena came downstairs to find James in the living room reading. She sat across from him, hands folded in her lap. Thank you for earlier. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. Tyler was awful to you. You could have called the police. He's your brother, and he's sick. That doesn't excuse his behavior. No, but it explains it. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Outside, Boston settled into night. Inside, the house creaked and settled. Old wood and old pipes, sounds of home. James, yeah? Why are you really helping me? He considered the question. Considered honesty versus kindness. Chose honesty. Because Jasmine would have. Because Zoe asked me to. Because I can. Because it's right. Pick whichever reason you prefer. They're all true. Even after Tyler? Especially after Tyler, you need support, not judgment. You need someone in your corner. I'm not used to that. Get used to it. You're stuck with me for at least another week. She laughed, watery but real. Another week, then I'm gone. Sure you are. They both knew she was lying, but neither called it out. Some lies were merciful. Thanksgiving arrived with the inevitability of seasons, carrying with it the Morrison family tradition of gathering in James's home. His father, Raymond, his sister, Nicole, Nicole's partner, Sarah. Three people who loved James and therefore scrutinized his choices with protective intensity. Raymond arrived first, 62 years old and still strong from decades of factory work in Detroit. He hugged James, hugged Zoe, then looked around with knowing eyes. So, where is she? Where's who? The young lady you mentioned on the phone. Elena. Upstairs, working. On Thanksgiving? She's finishing a project. Uh-huh. And living here, why exactly? James had explained on the phone, but Raymond wanted to hear it again. Wanted to assess motivation, to determine if his son was being kind or being foolish. There was a difference. She was homeless. Zoe asked me to help. I'm helping. By installing her in your house, by giving her a job and a safe place to stay while she gets back on her feet. How long? As long as she needs. Raymond studied his son. You like her. I barely know her. That's not an answer. Dad, I'm not judging, just asking. You're lonely. Zoe needs female influence. I understand the appeal, but James, you're a wealthy black man. This woman is white and was homeless. You don't see how that looks? I see exactly how it looks. I don't care. You should care. Appearances matter in your position. You've worked too hard to have people question your character. Anyone who questions my character based on helping someone in need isn't worth my concern. Raymond smiled, proud despite his caution. Your mother would have said the same thing. Stubborn woman. You're just like her. Nicole arrived with Sarah, and the conversation shifted. Nicole was immediately suspicious, her lawyer instincts kicking in, cataloging details and building a case. When Elena came downstairs, introduced herself politely, Nicole's eyes tracked every movement. Dinner was tense beneath the surface pleasantries. Nicole asked pointed questions about Elena's background, her plans, her intentions. Elena answered honestly, maintaining grace under interrogation. So you plan to stay here indefinitely? No, just until I save enough for a deposit on an apartment. How much have you saved? Nicole, James warned, it's a fair question. Elena met Nicole's eyes steadily. $3,000 so far. I need first month, last month, and security deposit. In Boston, that's at least 6,000, probably more. So 2 more months maybe. And then? Then I find my own place and move out. Will you continue working for Morrison Systems? If James wants me to. Isn't that a conflict of interest, living with your employer? Which is why I'm moving out. Nicole leaned back, assessing. You're articulate, educated. How did you end up homeless? Medical debt from my mother's cancer, lost my job, couldn't pay rent. It happens faster than you'd think. And your family? My father left when I was young. My mother died last year. I have a brother, but he's struggling with addiction. So you're alone? Yes. Convenient. Nicole, James's voice held warning now. That's enough. I'm protecting you. That's what family does. I don't need protection from Elena. You need protection from your own kindness. You always have. After dinner, Nicole cornered James in his study. I don't trust her. I know. She's white. She's broke. She's dependent on you. Every power dynamic is skewed. She's also talented, hardworking, and kind to Zoe. For now, until she gets what she needs. Then what? Then she moves out and we continue a professional relationship. Do you really believe that? James didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because no, he didn't really believe Elena would leave and everything would stay professional. Something was building between them. Something neither had acknowledged but both felt. Attraction, connection, recognition. Call it what you will. It was there. I see. Nicole's voice was quiet. You have feelings for her. I barely know her. You're falling for her or already have. It's complicated. It's dangerous. James, think about this. She's white, you're black. She's poor, you're wealthy. Every possible critique of power imbalance and racial dynamics applies here. If this goes wrong, you lose everything. Your reputation, possibly your company, maybe even custody of Zoe. That's worst case scenario. Worst case scenarios happen. I see them every day in my practice. Powerful men, vulnerable women, relationships that seem consensual until suddenly they're not. Then it's lawsuits and accusations and lives destroyed. Elena's not like that. You don't know what she's like. You've known her 3 weeks. I know enough. You know what she's shown you under these circumstances, living in your house, dependent on your generosity. You don't know who she is when she has power, when she doesn't need you anymore. James wanted to argue, wanted to insist Nicole was wrong, that Elena was genuine, that his instincts could be trusted. But Nicole's words carved doubt into certainty. What do you want me to do? Send her to a shelter, give her the first month's rent for an apartment, write a check and end this before it becomes something you can't control. I can't do that to Zoe. She's attached. Zoe will survive. She's 6. Kids are resilient. She's already lost her mother, which is exactly why you need to be careful who you bring into her life. This woman could leave at any time. Then Zoe loses someone else. James had no response. Nicole had identified his deepest fear, the thing keeping him awake at night. That Elena would leave, that Zoe would be hurt, that his attempt at kindness would cause more harm than good. Nicole left after extracting a promise that James would think carefully about the situation. Raymond left too, but not before pulling James aside. Your sister means well. I know, but she's wrong. I've watched you with this woman. I've watched her with Zoe. Whatever's happening here, it's not exploitation. It's connection. Real connection. You think so? I know so. I've been alive 62 years. I recognize love when I see it starting. It's too soon for that. Love doesn't follow schedules. It comes when it comes. What about everything Nicole said? The power dynamics, the racial implications? All true, all valid concerns. But James, you can't live your life according to other people's fears. Yes, there are risks. There are always risks. But there are also possibilities. Your mother and I came from nothing. Built a life together, despite everyone saying it wouldn't work, that we were too young, too poor, too everything. We worked because we chose to work, because we committed. I'm not talking about commitment. Elena's leaving in a month. If you let her, it's her choice. Is it? Or have you made it her choice by not expressing your feelings? James hadn't expressed his feelings because he wasn't sure what his feelings were. Attraction? Yes. Respect? Definitely. Gratitude for how good Elena was with Zoe. But love? That seemed premature. Impossible even. You couldn't love someone after 3 weeks, could you? That night, after everyone left, after Zoe was asleep, James found Elena on the back patio despite the cold. She wore one of his old sweaters, too big on her frame, wrapped around herself like armor. You okay? Your sister hates me. She doesn't hate you, she's protective. Same difference. Elena turned to face him. She thinks I'm using you. Are you? I don't know, maybe. I'm living in your house, eating your food, taking your salary. What else would you call it? Employment, temporary housing, mutual benefit. You don't benefit from having me here. Zoe does. She's happier than she's been since Jasmine died. Because I'm a distraction, a novelty, it won't last. Why do you assume the worst? Because in my experience, good things don't last. People leave, things fall apart. It's safer to expect disappointment. James moved closer, not touching, but near enough to share warmth in the cold. Not everything ends badly. Most things do, but not all things. She looked up at him. In the dim patio light, her eyes seemed huge, vulnerable, afraid. I should leave, before I hurt you or Zoe, before I mess this up like I mess everything up. You haven't messed anything up. Yet. Elena. He caught her hand. Her fingers were cold despite the sweater. You're allowed to stay. You're allowed to be here. You're allowed to stop punishing yourself for circumstances beyond your control. Nicole said, Nicole is my sister. I love her. But she doesn't get to decide what happens in my home or my life. That's my choice, and I choose to have you here. Why? Because I like having you here. Because Zoe is happier. Because you're talented and hardworking, and you deserve a chance to rebuild. Because he stopped. Too much, too soon. Because what? Because I'm tired of being alone. The honesty landed between them. Elena's eyes widened. James, you don't have to say anything. I'm not asking for anything. I just want you to know that this isn't charity. It's not pity. You're not a project. You're a person I genuinely enjoy having in my life. Elena pulled her hand away gently. I can't be what you need. I'm not asking you to be anything. But you're hoping. I can see it. And I can't. I'm too broken. Too messed up. You deserve someone whole. Everyone's broken in some way. Not like me. She went inside, leaving James alone with the cold and his thoughts. Above in the guest room, a light turned on. Lena's shadow moved behind curtains. James watched for a while, then went to bed, wondering if Nicole was right, if this was a mistake, if kindness was about to complicate into something dangerous. But he didn't send Elena away. Couldn't. Whatever was happening, whatever might happen, they would face it together. 1 month had passed, the deadline Elena had set, and neither of them mentioned it. Neither of them said it was time for her to go. Because it wasn't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The story was just beginning. December arrived with the kind of cold that made even natives question why anyone lived in Boston. The city wrapped itself in early darkness, in salt-stained sidewalks, in the particular gray that New England wore like a badge of honor. Inside the Morrison townhouse, warmth persisted. Elena had been there 6 weeks now. The deadline she had set, 1 month, had passed without acknowledgement. Neither she nor James mentioned it. Neither knew how. Morrison Systems faced a critical presentation. Investor meeting scheduled for January 15th. Complete rebrand launch. $70 million in potential funding hung on making the right impression. Elena was lead designer. James was CEO. They worked late into December nights, the house quiet around them, Zoe asleep upstairs, Mrs. Kim gone home hours ago. This color palette isn't working. Elena stared at her screen, frustration evident in the set of her shoulders. James looked over her shoulder, close enough to smell her shampoo, something floral and inexpensive from the drugstore, but it made his chest tighten nonetheless. What's wrong with it? It's too aggressive. We're trying to show innovation, but also trustworthiness. This blue is cold, clinical. What would you use instead? Elena pulled up alternatives. Warmer blues, touches of gold, sophisticated grays. James watched her hands move across the keyboard, competent and sure. Watched her face as she concentrated, the way she bit her lower lip when thinking. The small crease between her eyebrows that appeared when she was frustrated. Better, he said, much better. You think so? I know so. Elena, you're incredibly talented. She flushed at the praise, still not used to compliments, to being valued. 6 weeks of stability hadn't erased 28 years of being told she wasn't quite enough. They worked until 2 in the morning, Chinese takeout containers scattered across the desk, green tea gone cold in mugs, the comfortable silence of two people who had learned each other's rhythms. When Elena's eyes finally closed mid-sentence, James made a decision. Go to bed. We'll finish tomorrow. I'm fine. You're exhausted. Go. She went, too tired to argue. James stayed another hour, finishing details she had started, marveling at her vision, her precision. When he finally went to bed, he passed her room. The door was cracked open. Inside, Elena slept curled on her side, one hand under her pillow, face peaceful in ways it never was when awake. James stood watching longer than appropriate, then went to his own room, to his empty bed, to dreams that had started featuring blonde hair and blue eyes instead of the dark beauty he had loved and lost. The next morning, Saturday, Zoe demanded pancakes. Mrs. Kim was off for the weekend. James attempted cooking and failed spectacularly. Elena appeared in the kitchen doorway, took in the smoking pan and James's defeated expression, and laughed, actually laughed, full and genuine. Let me. She took over, made pancakes that were fluffy and perfect, added chocolate chips for Zoe, plain for James. They ate together at the kitchen table, winter light streaming through windows, and it felt so much like family that James's chest hurt. Miss Bree, Zoe said through a mouthful of pancake, are you going to live with us forever? Elena's smile faltered. No, sweetheart, just until I get my own place. But why? We have room, and you make good pancakes. Those are excellent reasons, but grown-ups need their own space. Daddy doesn't have his own space. He lives here. That's because it's his house. So stay and make it your house too. The logic of 6-year-olds, irrefutable and heartbreaking. James intervened before Elena's discomfort grew worse. Zoe, finish eating. We're going ice skating today, remember? Can Miss Bree come? James looked at Elena. She looked trapped. I have work. It's Saturday. Work can wait. Come with us. I don't know how to ice skate. We'll teach you, Zoe declared. It's easy. You just skate. So Elena came. They went to the fog pond on Boston Common, where couples and families glided across ice under weak December sun. James rented skates. Elena laced hers with shaking fingers. I'm going to fall. Everyone falls, James said. That's part of it. He helped her onto the ice. She gripped his arm with both hands, terrified and laughing. Zoe zipped past them, fearless, having taken lessons since she was 4. Elena took one tentative step, then another, then her feet went out from under her. James caught her, held her upright, their faces suddenly inches apart. I've got you. This was a terrible idea. Probably. But she kept trying, fell 6 more times, got up 7. By the end of the hour, she could make it halfway around the pond without holding on to James. Her face was flushed with cold and exertion and something that might have been happiness. Watching her, James realized he was in serious trouble. This wasn't gratitude anymore. Wasn't charity or compassion or whatever he had told himself it was. This was attraction, deep and dangerous. This was the beginning of something he had promised himself he wouldn't feel. Not this soon, not for someone whose life was still so unstable. They got hot chocolate after skating. Zoe chattered about school, about Christmas coming, about everything and nothing. Elena listened, engaged, asking questions, being present in ways that mattered. When they got home, Zoe hugged Elena goodnight with the same enthusiasm she showed James. "I love you, Miss Bree." Elena froze. James saw panic cross her face, saw her struggle for the right response. Finally, quietly, "I love you too, sweetheart." After Zoe was in bed, Elena found James in the living room. "I shouldn't have said that." "Said what?" "That I love her. It's not fair. I'm leaving soon. She'll be hurt." "Are you leaving soon?" "I have to." "Why?" "Because this isn't real. This is temporary. Me being here, working for you, playing house with your daughter, it's not sustainable." "What if it could be?" Elena shook her head. "It can't. People like me don't get happy endings with people like you." "People like us? What does that mean?" "You know what it means. You're successful, wealthy, established. I'm nobody. I was homeless 2 months ago. I'm drowning in debt. My brother is an addict. I come with problems you don't need." "Everyone comes with problems." "Not like mine." James moved closer, not touching, but close enough to feel her warmth, her tension, her fear. "Elena, I'm not asking you for anything, but I need you to know that having you here, it's not a burden. It's not charity. I look forward to coming home now. Zoe is happier than she's been in years, and I—" He stopped. "Too much." "And you what?" "I'm less lonely." The confession hung between them. Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Don't. Please don't do this." "Do what?" "Make me hope. Make me think this could be something when I know it can't." "Why can't it?" "Because I'll ruin it. Because people leave me or I leave them, and either way it ends badly. Because I don't deserve this, any of this, and eventually you'll realize that, and then where will I be?" James caught her hand. She didn't pull away, but she didn't relax either. "You're allowed to be happy. I'm allowed to survive. Happiness is for people who've earned it. That's not how happiness works. It's how mine works." She left him there, went upstairs, closed her door. James heard her crying through the walls. He wanted to go to her, to hold her, to promise things would be okay. But he couldn't promise that. Could only hope and keep trying and believe that eventually Elena would believe in herself the way he believed in her. Morrison Systems hosted a holiday party at a hotel in downtown Boston. 200 guests, investors, and clients and employees. Mandatory attendance for executives. Elena qualified now as lead designer. 6 weeks of exceptional work earning her the title and the invitation. She wore a dress borrowed from Nicole, black and simple, appropriate but not expensive. James had offered to take her shopping. She had refused. Pride again, always pride. She arrived with James and Zoe, the three of them together, which raised eyebrows immediately. Hudson Tate was there, competitor CEO, someone who had tried to poach James's clients for years and failed. Hudson approached the bar where James stood with Elena, his expression friendly but his eyes calculating. "Morrison, good to see you, and this must be your new designer. Elena, isn't it?" "Yes," Elena's voice was cautious. "Interesting hire. Tell me, how did you land such a prestigious position?" The question was innocent on the surface. The implication underneath was not. James felt anger spike, but Elena answered before he could intervene. "Talent and hard work." "Of course. Though I hear you're also living with Morrison." "Quite the arrangement." "My living situation is none of your business." "No, naturally not. But people do talk. Wealthy black CEO, struggling white woman living in his home. Very modern relationship structure." James stepped between them. "Hudson, you're out of line." "Am I? I'm just curious about your hiring practices, making sure everything's above board." "Everything is above board. Elena's work speaks for itself." "I'm sure it does. I'm sure something speaks for itself." The sexual innuendo was clear. Several people nearby heard, turned to watch. Elena's face went white, then red. She set down her drink carefully. Excuse me. She walked away, spine straight, refusing to give Hudson the satisfaction of seeing her upset. James wanted to follow, but Jordan intercepted him, pulling him aside. Let her go. If you chase after her, you prove his point. What point? That I care about an employee being sexually harassed? That there's something between you two? There isn't. Jordan raised an eyebrow. Come on, man. I've seen how you look at her. Everyone has. I don't look at her any particular way. You look at her like Jasmine used to look at you, like she's the best thing that ever happened and you're terrified of losing her. James had no response because Jordan was right. The holiday party continued around them, music and laughter and the performance of corporate cheer. But James's mind was on Elena, wherever she had gone, processing Hudson's cruelty alone. He found her eventually in a side corridor, leaning against a wall, eyes closed. I'm sorry. Not your fault. Hudson is an ass, always has been. He's right, though. People are talking about me living with you, about how I got my job, about what we're doing. We're not doing anything. Exactly, we're not doing anything. And they still assume the worst. Let them assume. Easy for you to say. Your reputation survives gossip. Mine doesn't. I'm the white woman living off a wealthy black man. I'm the charity case who somehow landed a job she didn't earn. I'm the... She stopped, voice breaking. James moved closer, close enough to see tears on her lashes, close enough to smell her borrowed perfume, close enough to make a terrible decision. You're none of those things. You're talented, hardworking, genuine. Anyone who knows you sees that. No one knows me. They just know the story, and the story looks bad. Then change the story, move out, get your own place, show everyone you're independent. Is that what you want? Me gone? No, but I want you comfortable. I want you happy. If that means leaving, then leave. Elena looked at him for a long moment. I should leave. I know I should, but I don't want to. Then don't. It's not that simple. It is that simple. Stay or go, your choice. What about Zoe? What about her? If I stay, she gets more attached. If I eventually leave, she's devastated. If I go now, she's hurt, but recovers faster. You're assuming you'll leave eventually. Won't I? James had no answer. Because, yes, probably, eventually Elena would leave. Would build her life back, would find independence, would move on. People didn't stay in Beacon Hills townhouses with CEOs they barely knew. Not forever. Stay through Christmas at least. For Zoe. For Zoe. And for me. Elena closed her eyes. This is a mistake. Maybe, but I'm tired of being safe. Tired of protecting myself from every possible hurt. After Jasmine died, I shut down. Went through motions, provided for Zoe, but didn't really live. You changed that. Made me remember what it feels like to look forward to something. To want something beyond just survival. James, stay. She opened her eyes, blue and troubled and beautiful. Until January. I'll stay until January. Then I find my own place. Okay. Promise you won't try to change my mind. I promise. Another lie. He would absolutely try to change her mind. But January was 6 weeks away. 6 weeks to prove that what they had was worth keeping. 6 weeks to make Elena see herself the way he saw her. They returned to the party. The night continued. Hudson made no more comments, but his damage was done. People stared, whispered. James ignored them. Elena tried to ignore them and failed. On the drive home, Zoe asleep in the back seat, Elena spoke quietly. Nicole was right. I'm bad for your reputation. I don't care about my reputation. You should. You've worked too hard to let gossip destroy it. Gossip can't destroy what's built on truth. Morrison Systems succeeds because we're good at what we do. My personal life is irrelevant. You keep saying that. I'm not sure you believe it. I believe in you? I wish I did. They arrived home. James carried sleeping Zoe upstairs while Elena went to her room. Later, unable to sleep, James found Elena on the back patio again, despite the cold. She had taken to going there when troubled, seeking something in the winter air that indoor warmth couldn't provide. You okay? No, but I will be. James stood beside her. They watched the neighborhood together. Expensive homes lit for Christmas. People living comfortable lives behind expensive windows. I'm going to find an apartment tomorrow. Start looking seriously. January, you said. I need to start preparing. Get deposits together. Research neighborhoods. It takes time. Elena, you don't have to run. I'm not running. I'm establishing independence before everyone decides I never had any. No one thinks that. Everyone thinks that. And maybe they're right. Maybe I've been using you, trading on your generosity because it's easier than doing it alone. Is that what you think? She turned to face him. I don't know what I think anymore. 2 months ago, I was sleeping on a bench. Now I'm living in a mansion, designing for a major tech company, playing mother to a little girl who's not mine. It's all happened so fast, I don't trust it. I don't trust myself. Trust me then. That's not fair. Why not? Because you're kind and I'm desperate, and that's not a basis for anything real. James caught her shoulders gently. She stiffened but didn't pull away. Look at me. She did, eyes wet, face pale in the porch light. This is real. Whatever this is between us, it's not charity, not pity, not desperation. It's connection, recognition. Two people who found each other when they both needed finding. You didn't need finding. You're doing fine. I was surviving, not living. There's a difference. And now? Now I remember what living feels like. Elena's breath hitched. Don't say things like that. Why not? Because I'll believe them. And then, when this ends, it'll hurt worse. What if it doesn't end? Everything ends. Not everything. He was going to kiss her. Elena saw it coming, felt it in the air between them, in the way his hands tightened on her shoulders, in the way his eyes dropped to her mouth. She should pull away, should establish boundaries, should remember all the reasons this was impossible. She didn't pull away. The kiss was soft, tentative, a question more than a statement. James pulled back after a moment, searching her face. Tell me to stop. I should. But I don't want to. They kissed again, longer this time, deeper, weeks of tension and denial dissolving into something honest and terrifying. When they finally separated, both breathing hard, Elena looked shaken. This is a mistake. Probably. We work together. I live in your house. The power dynamics are completely inappropriate. I know. We should stop. Pretend this didn't happen. Go back to professional boundaries. Is that what you want? Yes. No. I don't know. Elena ran her hands through her hair, frustrated. James, I'm a mess. I come with more baggage than anyone should have to deal with. Debt, trauma, an addict brother, trust issues that would take years of therapy to unpack. You deserve better. I want you. You want the idea of me, the project, the person you helped. That's not the same as actually wanting me, all my problems included. Elena, I've spent 2 months watching you rebuild your life, watching you work harder than anyone I employ, watching you be patient with Zoe, kind to Mrs. Kim, professional despite Hudson's garbage. I know exactly who you are. And yes, I want you. This will end badly. Maybe, or maybe it won't. Only one way to find out. Elena stared at him, torn between hope and fear, between wanting to believe and knowing better. Finally, she stepped back, creating distance. I need time to think, to process. Take all the time you need. I'm still moving out in January. If that's what you decide, it is. This doesn't change that. Okay. But they both knew it changed everything. Tyler called 3 days before Christmas. Elena's phone rang at 2 in the morning. She answered on instinct, half asleep, and immediately regretted it. Bree, I need help. Tyler, it's 2 a.m. I'm in the hospital. Mass General. I overdosed. They saved me, but I need you. Elena was awake instantly. What did you take? Fentanyl. I didn't know it was mixed with fentanyl. I just wanted to get high, and then I couldn't breathe, and someone called 911. Bree, I almost died. Are you in treatment now? The hospital. But they're releasing me tomorrow. I have nowhere to go. Elena's heart broke and hardened simultaneously. You need rehab, real rehab, 90 days minimum. I can't afford it. I'll pay. I've saved some money. It's not enough for long term, but it's a start. Just let me stay with you. I'll get clean at your place. You can't get clean at my place. This isn't my place, and even if it was, you need professional help. I need my sister. You need treatment. Tyler, you almost died. This is serious. There was silence. Then crying, raw and broken. I'm scared, Bree. I don't want to die, but I don't know how to stop. Then let me help. Real help. Treatment, not money. Okay? Really okay or telling me what I want to hear? Really okay. I'm tired. I'm so tired of this. Elena arranged everything. Used her savings and borrowed from James after he insisted. Found a program that had an opening. Christmas miracle. Tyler checked in on December 23rd. Elena drove him there herself, held him as he cried, promised to visit. I'm sorry, he said, for everything, for being awful to you, for what I said about James, for all of it. Just get better. What if I can't? Then you try again, but you have to try. She left him there, drove back to Beacon Hill crying so hard she had to pull over twice. When she finally got home, James was waiting in the living room despite the late hour. How is he? Scared, sorry, hopefully committed to recovery this time. You did a good thing. I spent $4,000 we both know he might waste. Or he might not. You gave him a chance. That's all anyone can do. Bullshit. Elena collapsed onto the sofa. James sat beside her, not touching, but present. She leaned into him, exhaustion winning over caution. He put his arm around her, and she let herself be held. I'm so tired of fighting. Then stop fighting. I don't know how. Start by accepting that you deserve help, that you deserve kindness, that you deserve to be happy. That's a lot to accept. I know, but try on. They sat like that until Elena fell asleep against his shoulder. James didn't move, didn't want to break whatever fragile peace she had found. Outside, Boston prepared for Christmas. Inside, two damaged people held each other and tried to believe in healing. When morning came, Elena woke in the guest room, tucked under blankets, shoes removed. James must have carried her upstairs. The thought should have been embarrassing. Instead, it felt like care. Christmas arrived with Zoe's excitement in the Morrison family gathering. Nicole was polite to Elena now, having apparently decided that open hostility helped nothing. They cooked together, made turkey and stuffing and all the traditional foods. Zoe chattered about Santa. Raymond told stories about Christmases past. It felt like family. It felt like home. Elena let herself enjoy it, let herself pretend, just for one day, that this was her life, her family, her place in the world. Tomorrow she would remember all the reasons it couldn't last. Today, she would be happy. That night, after Zoe was asleep, James found Elena by the Christmas tree. Lights twinkled in the darkness. She held a small wrapped box. I got you something. It's not much. James opened it. Inside was a sketch, beautifully rendered in pencil. Him and Zoe together, laughing. Elena had captured something essential, something true. The love between father and daughter, the bond that survived loss. Elena, this is incredible. I've been working on it in spare moments. Wanted you to have something that showed how much you mean to Zoe, how lucky she is to have you. Thank you. Thank you for everything, for seeing me when I was invisible, for giving me a chance, for letting me be part of your lives, even temporarily. It doesn't have to be temporary. We've talked about this. I know, but I want you to know the offer stands. Stay. Not as an employee or a charity case. Stay as family. Elena's eyes filled with tears. I can't. Why not? Because I'm falling in love with you and I can't afford to. Because Zoe already loves me and leaving will hurt her. Because this is your world and I don't belong in it. Because eventually you'll realize I'm not worth the trouble, and then where will I be? James set down the sketch carefully, took both her hands. You think you are not worth it? I know I'm not. You're wrong, Elena. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met. You've survived things that would break most people. You rebuilt yourself from nothing. You're talented, kind, resilient. I'm falling in love with you too. And yes, it's complicated. Yes, there are obstacles, but I don't care. I want to try, if you'll let me. Elena pulled her hands away. I'm moving out in January, I've already told you. I know, and I mean it. I know that too. So what are we doing? What is this? I don't know, but I know I don't want it to end. Elena stood, paced, stopped in front of the windows overlooking the street. If we do this, if we try, it will be hard. People will judge. Your reputation might suffer. Zoe might get hurt. I might hurt you. Or we might be happy. That's a big gamble. Love always is. She turned to face him. Is that what this is? Love? I think so, or the beginning of it. I don't know how to do this, how to be with someone when everything feels unstable. Neither do I. We'll figure it out together. Elena crossed the room, stood in front of him. One condition. What? I still move out. We date properly. You pick me up at my apartment. We go to dinner. We do this the right way, not living together and working together and blurring every line. You want to make this harder? I want to make this real, not something built on desperation and gratitude. If we're going to try, we do it right. James smiled. Okay, we do it right. I find an apartment in January, move out by February, and then we see what happens. I can live with that. They kissed again. Again, slower this time, less desperate, more certain. Outside, snow began to fall, blanketing Boston in white. Inside, two people took a leap of faith and hoped the landing would be soft. January brought bitter cold and Elena's apartment search. She found a studio in Cambridge, third-floor walk-up, 600 square feet of possibility, $800 a month, affordable with her Morrison System salary, small but clean. James helped her move despite her protests. Zoe cried the entire morning. Why can't Miss Bree stay with us? Because grown-ups need their own space, sweetheart. But she's part of our family now. She is, but families don't have to live in the same house to be family. Zoe didn't understand. 6-year-olds shouldn't have to understand loss in its various forms, but life taught lessons whether anyone was ready or not. She hugged Elena fiercely at the new apartment, face buried in Elena's shoulder, small body shaking with tears. Promise you won't disappear. I promise. I'm 20 minutes away. You'll see me all this time. Every day? Maybe not every day, but a lot. After Zoe left with Mrs. Kim, James stayed, helped Elena unpack the few boxes she owned, clothes, art supplies, laptop, books, a life rebuilt from nothing fitting into one small room. He watched her arrange things, creating order from chaos, and saw the fierce pride in her movements. This was hers, earned, chosen, independent. Thank you for helping. You're welcome. You don't have to stay. I know, but he stayed anyway. They ordered pizza, sat on the floor because Elena hadn't bought furniture yet, and talked until midnight. About work, about Zoe, about Tyler who had been in treatment 3 weeks and was doing better. About everything except what mattered most. Finally, Elena said it. This is strange, being apart after living together. Good strange or bad strange? Both. Good because I need to prove I can do this alone. Bad because I miss Zoe already. And you. I miss you too. The house feels empty. Mrs. Kim is still there. And Zoe. It's not the same. They looked at each other across the empty apartment, across the distance they had created deliberately, and the space felt both necessary and cruel. This is what I wanted, Elena said, to do things properly. No shortcuts. I know. So why does it feel wrong? Because change always feels wrong initially. Give it time. She walked him to the door. They stood in the tiny entryway, neither wanting to be the first to leave. Dinner tomorrow, James asked. Like a date? Exactly like a date. I pick you up at 7. We go somewhere nice. I bring you home at a reasonable hour like a gentleman. Elena smiled. That sounds perfect. They kissed goodnight and James left, and Elena closed the door on her apartment, her space, her independence. She looked around at the empty studio, at the life she was building, and felt equal parts proud and terrified. Their first official date was Italian food in the North End. James wore a suit, Elena wore the black dress from the holiday party, Still borrowed from Nicole, but she would buy her own soon. They sat across from each other like strangers, like people just beginning, even though they had lived together for 8 weeks and knew each other's morning routines and favorite foods and deepest fears. This is awkward, Elena said. Completely. We're bad at dating. Terrible. They laughed and the tension broke. Conversation flowed easier after that. James told stories about building Morrison systems, about the early days when he worked from a shared office space in Somerville, eating ramen and writing code until 3 in the morning. Elena talked about art school, about professors who told her she was talented, about dreams of working for major design firms in New York or San Francisco. Why didn't you? Mom got sick. I stayed in Boston to be close. Then she died and Tyler needed me. And somewhere in there, I forgot to have ambitions beyond survival. You're surviving now. More than surviving. What do you want? Elena considered. I want Tyler to get clean. Really clean permanently. I want to pay off my debt. I want to design something that matters, something people see and remember. I want... She stopped. What? I want to believe this is real, that we're real. We are real. For now, but what about 6 months from now, a year? What if you wake up and realize I'm not worth the complication? James reached across the table, took her hand. Elena, I'm not going anywhere. I need you to believe that. I'm trying. Try harder. They dated through January and February. Dinner dates, movie dates, walks along the Charles River despite the cold. James picked her up, brought her home, kissed her goodnight like teenagers figuring out boundaries. It was old-fashioned and sweet and sometimes frustrating because they both wanted more, but had agreed to take things slowly. Elena came to the Beacon Hill house for Sunday dinners, played with Zoe, helped with homework, read bedtime stories. Zoe's attachment deepened, became something neither could ignore. One Sunday in late February, after Elena left, Zoe asked the question James had been dreading. Daddy, are you going to marry Miss Bree? I don't know, sweetheart. It's complicated. Do you love her? Yes. Does she love you? I think so. Then marry her. That's what people do when they love each other. It's not that simple. Why not? James had no good answer. In Zoe's world, love led to commitment, to family, to permanence. In the adult world, love competed with fear and doubt and the memory of loss. Jasmine had been gone 3 years, but her absence still shaped everything. James worried that loving Elena meant forgetting his first wife, worried that moving forward meant leaving Jasmine behind. That night, alone in bed, James did something he hadn't done in months. He talked to Jasmine, out loud, to the empty room, to memory and grief and whatever remained when someone died. I met someone. Her name is Elena. She's kind and talented and good with Zoe. I think I'm falling in love with her. I think I already have, and I feel guilty, like I'm betraying you. Like 3 years isn't enough time to move on. Tell me what to do. Tell me if this is okay. Silence answered. The house settled, old beams creaking. Outside, Boston continued its endless rhythm. James closed his eyes and tried to feel something, some sign, some permission. Instead, he felt emptiness. And maybe that was the sign. Maybe the absence meant it was time to stop living in the past. The next day, he drove to the cemetery. Jasmine's grave was simple, elegant, the headstone reading, "Beloved wife and mother." James knelt in the cold, placed flowers and spoke. Zoe is doing well, growing so fast. She's smart like you, stubborn like me. She misses you. We both do. But there's someone else now. Elena. I need to know if that's okay. If loving someone new means I loved you less. Because it doesn't feel that way. It feels like my heart is big enough for both. A cardinal landed on a nearby tree, red against winter gray. Jasmine had always loved cardinals, said they were messages from people who had passed. James didn't believe in signs, but he wanted to think that Jasmine was somehow saying yes, go ahead, be happy. I'm going to ask her to marry me. If you have objections, now's the time. The cardinal flew away. James took that as blessing. Nicole invited Elena to lunch in early March. They met at a cafe in Cambridge, neutral territory, equal ground. Elena arrived nervous, expecting confrontation. Instead, Nicole ordered wine and smiled. I owe you an apology. Elena blinked. For what? For being awful at Thanksgiving. For assuming the worst. For treating you like a threat instead of a person. You were protecting James. I was being judgmental. There's a difference. Nicole sipped her wine. I've watched you these past months. How you moved out even though staying would have been easier. How you work hard, never cutting corners. How you are with Zoe. You love her. I do. And my brother? I love him too. Even knowing how complicated it is, the racial dynamics, the wealth disparity, the public scrutiny, especially knowing how complicated it is, love isn't easier when people are the same. It's just differently hard. Nicole studied her. He's going to propose. You know that. Elena's breath caught. He hasn't said anything. He will, soon, and when he does, I need to know you're ready, that you won't panic and run, because Zoe can't handle another loss. Neither can James. I won't run. Promise me. I promise. Nicole reached across the table, took Elena's hand. Welcome to the family, officially, belatedly, but sincerely. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Morrison women are intense. We meddle. We have opinions. We will absolutely involve ourselves in wedding planning if you let us. I'll keep that in mind. They finished lunch, and when Elena left, she felt something shift. Acceptance, belonging. The sense that maybe finally she had found her place. James proposed 2 weeks later. He brought Zoe to Jasmine's grave first, the two of them standing in spring sunshine that made the cemetery almost beautiful. Sweetheart, I need to talk to you about something important. Okay. I'm going to ask Miss Bree to marry me. Zoe's face lit up. Really? Really, but I wanted to make sure you were okay with it first. Why wouldn't I be okay? Because it means things will change. Elena will be part of our family officially. She might move back into the house. She'll be there every day. Good. I want her there every day. And she'll be like a second mom to you. Not replacing your mom, but adding to our family. Zoe looked at Jasmine's headstone. Mommy, is it okay if Miss Bree becomes my other mom? James felt his throat tighten. Zoe continued, speaking to the grave with the earnest belief of childhood. I'll still love you. I'll still remember you. But I love Miss Bree too. And Daddy is happier when she's around. So I think you'd want this. I think you'd like her. Wind rustled through trees. The cardinal appeared again, bright against green leaves just starting to emerge. Zoe smiled. See, Daddy? Mommy says it's okay. That evening, James picked Elena up at her apartment. She expected their usual date routine. Instead, he drove to Boston Common, to the bench where they had first met 5 months ago. Why are we here? Because this is where it started. They sat on the bench, the place where Elena had been invisible, where Zoe had asked a simple question and changed 3 lives. James pulled a small box from his pocket. 5 months ago, my daughter asked why you were sleeping outside. I didn't have a good answer except that sometimes the world fails people. I decided to try not failing you, to offer help without judgment, to see the person beneath circumstances. Elena's hands shook. James, what I didn't expect was that helping you would save me too. I was going through motions, working, parenting, existing, but not living. You reminded me what it means to be fully alive, to hope, to risk, to love. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, sapphire surrounded by small diamonds. Simple, elegant, beautiful. This was Jasmine's, Elena gasped. I can't take her ring. Before she died, Jasmine made me promise something. She said when I found love again, and she insisted I should use this ring. She said love shouldn't die with her. It should continue, transform, become something new while honoring what came before. Are you sure? Completely. Elena Hayes, you've made me believe in second chances. You've brought joy back to my way home, laughter back to my life. You've loved my daughter like she's yours. Will you marry me? Elena was crying. Yes, absolutely yes. He slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly, like it had been waiting. They kissed on the bench where everything began, and the circle felt complete. They married on a Saturday in late May. Ceremony, 60 guests, held in Boston Public Garden near the pond where they had ice skated. Spring in full bloom, flowers everywhere, the city at its most beautiful. Raymond walked Elena down the makeshift aisle. She had asked him, and he had cried, and she had cried, and James had cried when she told him. Family being chosen, being built from love instead of blood. Elena wore a simple dress, ivory, not white, tea-length and elegant. Zoe was flower girl, taking her job with utmost seriousness, dropping petals in precise intervals. Nicole stood as James's best woman. Sarah, Nicole's partner, stood as Elena's maid of honor. The wedding party was small but fierce in their support. Nicole officiated, having gotten ordained online for the occasion. She spoke about love in its many forms, about second chances in chosen families, and the courage required to build something new from broken pieces. Love doesn't ask permission, Nicole said. It doesn't check bank accounts or skin color or past trauma. Love sees souls, sees potential, sees the possibility of two people making each other better. James and Elena have found that, and we're here to witness and celebrate and promise to support them. The vows were personal, written by each, speaking to their specific journey. James spoke first. Elena, 5 months ago you were a stranger on a bench. Today you're my partner, my love, my future. You've taught me that wealth isn't measured in money but in moments, in laughter, in the way Zoe's face lights up when you walk in the courage to rebuild when everything falls apart. I vow to support your dreams, to honor your independence, to love you through doubt and fear and every obstacle that comes. I vow to never let you feel invisible again. Elena's turn. James, I had nothing when we met. You gave me everything, not through money, but through seeing me as human, as worthy, as capable. You never made me feel less than. You never treated our differences as obstacles. You just loved me. I vow to honor Jasmine's memory while building new memories. I vow to be the mother Zoe deserves. I vow to never stop working to earn the gift you've given me, which is believing I deserve good things. They exchanged rings. Nicole pronounced them married. They kissed while their small gathering applauded, and Zoe yelled, "Finally!" making everyone laugh. The reception was casual, held at a restaurant James had rented out. Good food, better wine, speeches that ranged from funny to tearful. Jordan told stories about James in the early Morrison Systems days. Raymond talked about watching his son become the man he had raised him to be. Nicole spoke about being wrong and being glad she was wrong. Then Zoe insisted on speaking. Someone brought her a stool so she could reach the microphone. "Hi, I'm Zoe. I'm 6 3/4, almost 7. Miss Bree is my mom now, not Miss Bree anymore, just mom. She reads me stories and helps with homework and makes really good pancakes. She loves my daddy. I can tell because she smiles different around him. Special smiles. I'm happy she's staying forever now." The end. She hopped down to applause and ran to Elena, who picked her up and held her tight. James joined them, the three of them together, and someone took a photo that would end up on the Morrison Systems website on Elena's desk, on Zoe's bedroom wall. A moment captured. A family formed. Later, during dancing, Raymond pulled James aside. "Your mother would be proud." "I hope so. I know so. You chose love over fear. You chose building over protecting. That takes strength. Elena's the strong one. You both are. That's why it works." Tyler attended the wedding. 3 months sober, working as a counselor at the treatment facility that had saved his life. He was thinner, healthier, clear-eyed in ways Elena had forgotten he could be. He hugged her fiercely. "I'm sorry for everything. I know. I mean it. The things I said, the way I treated you and James, I was wrong. You were sick. There's a difference. I'm better now. Really better. I see that. I'm proud of you." Tyler met James properly, shook his hand, looked him in the eye. "Thank you for not giving up on her. Or me." "Family doesn't give up," James said simply. As the evening wound down, James and Elena stole a moment alone on the restaurant's back patio. Boston sprawled before them, lights beginning to glow as dusk settled. "We did it," Elena said. "We did." "I'm terrified." "Of what?" "That I'll wake up and this will be gone. That it's too good to be real." James pulled her close. "It's real. We're real. And whatever comes, we face it together." "Together," Elena repeated, testing the word, finding it solid. 2 years later, Morrison Technologies, no longer Systems, occupied a new building in Cambridge. 50 employees, $100 million valuation, growing steadily. Elena was creative director, leading a team of 6 designers. Her work had been featured in design magazines, won awards, established her reputation as someone who could translate complex technology into beautiful, accessible visuals. The Sterling Morrison Foundation, named for Jasmine, whose middle name had been Sterling, provided scholarships to students from low-income backgrounds. 20 scholarships so far, fully funded, 4 years of college for kids who otherwise wouldn't have the chance. Elena sat on the board. Tyler worked there part-time, his counseling experience making him perfect for mentoring students struggling with various challenges. Zoe was 8 now, articulate and confident, dividing her time between calling Elena Mom and Mom Bree, depending on the situation. She knew about Jasmine, looked at photos regularly, understood that families could have many shapes. Her school projects often featured both mothers, past and present, love existing across time and circumstance. James and Elena lived in the Beacon Hill townhouse with plans to buy something bigger eventually. They talked about having another child, maybe adopting, giving Zoe a sibling. Nothing decided yet, but possible. Everything possible now. On a Saturday morning in June, they returned to the bench. Annual tradition, visiting the place where everything changed. Zoe ran ahead to the playground while James and Elena sat where Elena had once slept, homeless and afraid. "Do you ever think about that night?" James asked. "Every day. How close I came to giving up completely. How cold it was. How invisible I felt." "You were never invisible to me." "I know, that's what saved me." A young woman approached the bench, hesitant, clearly homeless. She wore layers of clothing despite the June heat. Her hair was matted. Her eyes were frightened. Elena saw herself 2 years ago. "Excuse me, I'm sorry to bother you. Do you have any spare change?" Elena looked at James. He nodded. She turned to the woman. "What's your name?" "Maria." "Maria, when did you last eat?" "Yesterday, maybe." "Come with us. There's a cafe nearby. Let us buy you breakfast." "I don't want charity." "It's not charity. It's people helping people. And after breakfast, if you want, I can tell you about some resources, job programs, housing assistance, whatever you need." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "Why would you do that? You don't know me." Elena smiled. "Someone helped me once. Now I'm helping you. That's how it works." They walked to the cafe, the same one where James had bought Elena her first meal. Zoe joined them, immediately befriending Maria, asking questions with the guileless curiosity of children. Maria ate slowly, disbelieving, as Elena explained about Morrison Technologies, hiring practices, about the foundation and scholarships, about second chances being possible if someone just saw you as human first. "I was you 2 years ago," Elena said, "sleeping on that same bench, convinced I'd never climb out. But someone saw me, someone helped, and everything changed." 2 years. Maria looked at Elena's clothing, her confidence, her obvious stability. "That's all it took?" 2 years of hard work, of accepting help, of believing I deserved better. The timeline matters less than the decision to try. They exchanged contact information. Elena promised to follow up. Maria left with food, information, and something more valuable than either, hope. Walking home through the public garden, Zoe between them holding both their hands, James spoke quietly. "You're good at that." "At what?" "Seeing people, really seeing them. I learned from the best." That night, after Zoe was asleep, Elena sat at her desk working on a new project. James brought tea, sat beside her, watched her hands move across the drawing tablet with practiced ease. "I'm happy," Elena said suddenly. "Good." "No, I mean really happy. Completely. I didn't think this was possible. Didn't think I deserved it. And now? Now I know everyone deserves it. They just need someone to believe in them first. I believed in you. You did, and I finally believe in myself." James kissed the top of her head. Outside, Boston continued its endless rhythm. Inside, in a townhouse in Beacon Hill, a family built from loss and choice and stubborn hope settled into evening routines. Dishes washed, lunches packed for tomorrow, lights dimmed, normal, beautiful, earned. In Zoe's room on her bedside table, two photos stood side by side. One of Jasmine holding infant Zoe, love captured forever. One of Elena and Zoe from the wedding, different love, but no less real. Both mothers present, both needed, both celebrated. Love didn't replace. Love added, multiplied, transformed. Love saw people when they were invisible and reminded them they mattered. 5 months from homeless to housed, 2 years from broken to whole. A lifetime of building forward from the moment someone asked a simple question and chose compassion over convenience. Why is that lady sleeping outside? Because sometimes the world fails people, but sometimes people don't fail each other. And sometimes that makes all the difference. The Morrison home settled into night. Three people who had found each other when they most needed finding, who had chosen each other despite every obstacle, who had built something beautiful from absolutely nothing. In the morning they would wake and begin again, work and school and the ordinary magic of family life. But tonight they slept peacefully, safe, loved, home.